YouTube. Today I'm going to be replacing the spur gear and the pinion gear in this Redcat Volcano. It's the EXP version. It's not the Pro that has the brushless. This is a brush setup. Anyway, I got this truck several months back. Started running the 7.2 that came with the truck, and you know, that did an adequate job, but I wanted something with a little more get up and go. So this version, actually, you can switch on the ESP from 7.2 to 7.4 and get into a lipo. So I went ahead and did that, and instantly I started hearing noise after, you know, towards the end of the first battery that I had in as a lipo, and you know, I started hearing a grinding kind of noise, and I thought I had rocks that had gotten into the brush motor and was grinding around because it's got a little fan in there. But no, it continued and it continued. So, you know, I did an inspection took off the cover of the spur gear and noticed, yeah, it was ground down. So this is one of those deals where I ordered the parts, and the parts came, and I jumped right in, and I got it taken care of. And halfway through, I said, oh, you know, I should have turned the camera on. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and changed it out, and I put it all back together. Now I'm going to go ahead and take it all apart for you guys again and show you what I did to change out that spur gear. So we'll get right into it. So the first thing I did when I heard the grind is you can go ahead and just take these little screws off right here. Let's see if I can do this where everyone can kind of see what's going on. It's like a little inspection plate. I know I don't have the best camera angle here, but now we'll go ahead and pop this off. Kind of like so, and you can get down and you can see the spur and the pinion down there, and do an inspection. That's when I noticed that everything was pretty much ground up in there. So let's go ahead and continue. We'll go and remove some more stuff. We'll get down into it. From there, I took off these front screws to this plate here. And you need to watch, because some of these screws screw in the plastic and some of them screw into the aluminum, so the threading's different. You just want to make note of where all of them go. We had to take off this little support one right here. And what I did is I just went ahead and I just lifted this up, and I'm gonna take off the cooling fins for the motor. Just lift it up, and I just kind of shifted it right out of the way. And right back here, there's another little cover that protects the spur gear. You just pop this out and just move it right out of the way. Now you can actually get right in there. So you can see that spur gear in there. Okay, from there I went ahead and just removed the battery tie down or holder. So now we actually got to get into here. So the easiest way to do that for me was to just flip it right upside down. You got some screws here, and this is actually the screws right here that hold this plate on, that holds the motor mount, and the spur goes through it. So we'll just go ahead and get those removed. Now you probably notice I only have a few screws in down here. That's because, like I said, I already took it apart and I didn't want to put all the screws back in. Just to simplify this process, you're going to notice right now that things will kind of drop out of the way. Okay, then we'll go ahead and remove these screws. Actually go to the motor mount. This one out, and that should release everything. Okay, so the drive shaft's got to come out of the way. As you can see, everything just kind of broke free. With that, you can pull the drive shaft out. And go ahead and unplug your motor. It's being stubborn. Okay, now you can see we can get right into the spur. So this little part right here has a grub screw in it. That's what held up the drive shaft. So I already removed the grub screw earlier. We're just going to pull that and move it out of the way. This should slide right out. Here's your motor. Motor mount screws. I went ahead and put the new pinion on. Let me show you what the old ones look like. This was a 17 tooth that came with it with a plastic spur gear. And you can see that spur gear is just all tore up. And the pinion has got some damage to it also. So anyway, we got the new pinion on. Go ahead and just loosely mounted the motor mounts to the aluminum plate. The spur gear now actually has a C-clip. I don't know if you can see that right there, but it's got a C-clip right here that you got to pop off, and then that spur gear will slide right off. Put your new spur on, and then we'll go ahead and start reassembling. Now the original part was a plastic one, so I went ahead and purchased a metal. I looked what the upgrades were for the Pro version that had the brushless motor in it, and it had a metal spur gear, so I went ahead and ordered that, hoping that that's going to, with the torque of the new lipos that I put in it, it's going to help. But I don't have to change this out and chew up the gears so much. So we'll go ahead and get reassembling. Now reassembling is kind of a nightmare. Let's see if we can do it in a short amount of time just for the video's sake. So we went ahead and go ahead and put the motor back in. We want to put a little part in that holds the drive shaft. Now you want to get that drive shaft in. You need to insert the front shaft up to the front. Kind of get everything basically aligned. it in. Here's where you wish you had another hand, for sure. Yeah, everything just gets in the way here. Get the wiring out of the way. So as you can see now, everything's kind of in the right place, but loosely flopping around. So what I tried to do is just eyeball the position of that plate, stand it up. I try to get one of these screws in that holds that motor mount plate. Like I say, it is a pain in the butt. Let's see if we can't get one in here, kind of hold everything. Beautiful. Okay, with that in, then I'll go ahead and line up everything else here. Get one of these screws set. Get a little front one here set. Drop the screwdriver. Okay, now we'll just turn it back over and take a peek. Alright, I'll get the rest of the screws in the motor mount plate here. As we can see, we're a little crooked. Go. Right now I'm just loosely setting these screws, and we drop the screwdriver again. And then I'll go back and snug everything up. And anytime you're screwing into plastic, you're pulling the screws in and out quite often. You really don't want to over tighten. These three actually go into that aluminum plate that holds the motor mount. So we can go ahead and snug those down a little more than you can with the plastic. A lot of torque right there, so you want to make sure these are set in pretty well. And then your plastic one, just lightly, just as soon as it seats, just give it a little extra turn so you don't strip that plastic out. Okay. Now we want to check to make sure the mesh on the pinion spur gear is good, and you actually want to do this before you tighten down your motor mounts. Now the problem I had was you can't get a hex head in here to tighten that lower motor mount once everything's in. So I loosely screwed those motor mount screws in, came in, did my mesh, tightened the top screw that holds the motor to the plate, and then I ended up taking it apart again and tightening the bottom one once I had the correct mesh, and then I put it all back together again. You could probably, you know, take all this arm off and the shocks and everything, drop it down or lift it up and be able to get a better angle at it when it's all together, but I didn't do it that way. Anyway, to check your mesh, you just want to take a regular piece of copy paper, stick it in between the gears, give your gears a good spin, get that paper in there, and you want to go ahead and mesh them together at that point, and that's just about the right clearance that you need for your gearing. Okay, all that's tightened down. The only thing I got left to do is to take this little grub screw and fasten it onto the shaft that holds the drive shaft here, this little coupler Gucci. So we'll turn it so that grub screws on the flat part of the shaft. Go ahead and get my wrench, and we'll slide this right in. Of course, easier said than done. Yeah, see, this is proving to be a pain in the butt. There we go. And we'll give it a good, it'll tighten there. You probably should put a little bit of blue lock threader on there just to help hold it. Okay, now you notice in the motor I've got this little white fabric on here, and that's just the real light mesh. It's still going to allow the motor to breathe, but what it does is it's going to allow some of the heavier little rock chips and stuff, and you know, when you're spinning the tires, it kicks up in here, it gets kicked out, debris out. And there's a little, we'll go ahead and put our heat sink back on, and we're ready just basically to go ahead and start putting it all back together again. So, get my motor wires out here, get them plugged in. ahead and start putting these pieces back together. And these aren't the easiest things to get in and out. These little plastic pieces. You just gotta kind of fiddle with them. There we go. Yeah, they're kind of a pain to get started, but once you get one in, they all pretty much line up. Get these front screws in. And this one that goes on the receiver antenna. And there we have it. We'll go ahead and throw a battery in. And grab my radio. We'll give her a test. Radio on. No more grinding. I hope that helps somebody out there. Thanks for watching. And please share, comment, subscribe. We'll talk to you soon.